Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be answering some questions about my study in architecture and give people advice for those who have children or anyone who wants to study architecture and to become a licensed architect. I'm also going to share my experience so far as a student. I'm also going to share with you the do's and the don'ts, the things you want to prepare yourself for, and also why I decided to study architecture anyways, okay? So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first I'm going to start with answering some questions. There was one particular question that I remember someone asked me about a year ago, but I've been receiving so many questions since I introduced to people that I'm studying towards this degree, but I forgot the others, right? There's only one that really stood out to me, and it was about a year ago, as I mentioned, and I really remember this one. So I want to answer that question. Although I've already answered it for her, I'm going to answer it for you all. And then I have one new question that came to me via Facebook that I also want to answer. And there's actually about two questions in one here. And yeah, I really think that these questions are going to help. Okay, so someone asked me, I hope things are going well with your journey into becoming an architect. My son has the same interests and is trying to find a good school to study architecture. Do you have any tips or things to know before he enrolls in college? I don't want him to burn out. Okay, so this is a perfect question because this is one of the questions I want to answer. I did not read this question before making this video, so this is very all new information to me. So it's good because I do want to touch on the tips and the things that you should know before pursuing or going into it, just to realize if it's for you or not, okay? So there's quite a packed, question. So let me just break this down. Okay, so she's asking, her son has the same interest, right? And is trying to find a good school to study architecture, all right? And do you have any tips or anything that he needs to know before he enrolls into college? I don't want him to burn out. So let me answer this question first. Do you have any tips or things to know before he enrolls into college? Okay, so my first tip would be that he needs to know this is what he really wants to do. Right? What I've noticed with a lot of students and a lot of my colleagues, they will start in this program, but then they will go into a total different program. Now, it doesn't matter the age group. We have a different variety of ages in the architecture department, from 19-year-old to 40-year-olds, people who are just realizing this is something they want to do, and that's okay. But even people at that age, they drop out, right? I have witnessed people drop out. I don't see them anymore, and then the next thing you know, they're in a total different department, because this field is very demanding. You have to also not only be creative, but you have to be technical, right? And with this day and age, all of this new technology and the software, you have to know how to do computer programming. That's just a part of it. So he has to ask himself, is this what I want? And by knowing the things that are going to be required of him, is he going to stay with it? Because a lot of people drop out of this department, right? What else can I add? And I'm going to answer these questions anyway, so this video is going to help him anyways. Just have him watch it and take notes. There's not a lot of scary things in architecture, but you do need to know how to draw a little bit. Right? You gotta know how to draw a little bit. You have to have a passion for being creative, because that's what an architect is, right? If not, you can be an engineer, right? You could be an engineer. You have to have some type of creative bone in you, if you will, and know how to draw. And if you do not know how to draw, you cannot be afraid to learn how to draw, right? And school will not teach you this. They will teach you certain architectural techniques, right? But to draw is something you have to develop personally, right? But if you already know how to draw, that's good. Now, you don't have to be the perfect, most skillful artist, but you have to have some type of skill level. Okay, so that's a really good tip. My other tip is going to answer the second question that I remember from about a year ago. So just keep watching this video on that, but it's about mathematics. Okay, let me look at this question again. My third tip would be to learn how to be organized with your work, also with your time. Being an architect requires you to be an organized person. Now, you will get very disorganized at some times, but you have to learn how to bring it all back together, because you have to be able to keep up with your designs, your physical papers, right? And then also your digital drawings, right? So as a student, there's going to be a lot of tracing and drawing and pen to paper designs, but then also software designs where you're going into programs such as Revit, AutoCAD, SketchUp, and the many others. But that's usually the ones that we use in school. But you have to be able to be organized so that you don't lose those things, okay? Now, I'm not going to go too much into answering this question because a lot of these questions will be answered in my advice that I give after the questions. So the other question was, within this entire question, was my son has the same interests and is trying to find a good school to study architecture. I would say the best schools to attend, and it's not even just about them being the best schools, you have to go to these schools. So it's any school that is NAAB accredited. And these are schools that have that accreditation, and these schools, they have to perform in a certain manner, and they get checkups. So you know these schools are decent schools, even if they're not like the top schools, they're decent enough. So when searching for a school for your son, you want to just Google search NAAB accredited program schools, right? And there could be some or a few in your area or in your state or your city or town, wherever you live. And also, if your son's high school, I'm assuming he's in high school, if they have some type of guidance counselor or some like that, like college ready department or something. We had that in my high school. That will help you search for these kinds of school, but don't just apply to any school. You want to be sure that they have that program. NAAB, okay? So the other question that I received about a year ago was, is there a lot of mathematics in the study of architecture? And my answer was no. My answer was no. And I do believe that a lot of people fear this, and a lot of people are just afraid of math altogether. I myself personally, I'm not afraid of math, but I just do not like it. It is not my strong suit, and I do not like anything that I'm not good at because I'm such a perfectionist. And math is one of those subjects that just really, really challenges me and just tells me, like, I wouldn't say like you're not good enough, but it just tells me like you can be better, right? I'm really good at reading, history, all these other subjects, art. That's my strong suit. But when it comes to math, I'm just like, like I wanna, conquer you, but it's so tough. But architecture, it has some bits and parts of mathematics, but you won't need to be Albert Einstein. You won't need to be this mathematician, this genius to study architecture. You need to have some knowledge of mathematics. You actually do need to have some type of love for mathematics. You can't just be completely dumb, right? When it comes to adding, subtracting, multiplying, and those sorts of things, you can't be completely dumb because there are measurements that are very highly focused. I mean, measurements is pretty much the key to architecture, right? So you have to have some skill, mathematics skill level, but you do not have to be a genius. No, you do not. There are a lot of mathematics or mathematical classes or courses you will have to take. I believe in many schools it is mandatory, such as I believe it's chemistry, physics, calculus, pre-calc, I believe also trigonometry, and I don't know of geometry, but definitely trigonometry. Yeah, yeah. So you will have to take these very advanced sort of mathematical courses, and you have to pass them, right, in order to get to graduate, basically. But I would say if you just buckle down, teach your child to buckle down, don't be intimidated by math. Study as best as you can. Communicate with your instructor. Let them know, like, listen, this is not my strong suit. I'm here just to do the very best that I can. And if you have some advice for me, some tips for me, talk to your instructor. Encourage your child to talk to their instructor. Build that relationship with your professor. And let them know, like, listen, I'm just going to do my best. And that has honestly worked out for me and has allowed me to get very good grades in my studies. And I'm not a genius. I'm far from a genius, but what I do is I'm a very good communicator. And the first step that a lot of you parents are doing is just asking the question. And also, you all are asking me the questions. Teach your children to ask questions. Teach them not to be afraid to speak up for themselves and to raise their hand in class. Don't be embarrassed, right? Because that's what is going to make them succeed. So don't fear math. There's not this subject or this field of study or industry is not wrapped around mathematics, but there is some math. So don't think that you can avoid it, but just tackle it. Go after it, with a strong and brave heart. Okay, so those are the two questions that I wanted to answer. Now I'll get into a little bit more personal with you about, my personal experience, what I'm feeling now, do I regret it, and, why I chose to do this, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's change the path a little bit. Okay, so I decided to get a little close and personal with you all because we're getting close and personal, right? I decided to go after this career path because I always found it interesting when I was a little girl. And when I was a little girl, I used to just lock myself in the room and just create. And I did every sort of type of art you can think of. I designed clothes, I sewed my clothes, I did some painting, I did sketching, I did animation, I created my own cartoons, I wrote music. I mean, I did it all. And some of the things that I did also was design little houses. I would draw. And I just knew that I wanted to be an architect, right? Along with many other things, but architecture is one of those things that has always been dear to my heart. So as I got older, I did not completely forget about it, but life happened. I had to find a way to make money, so I started my small business, and I went to school for business. I wanted to go to Parsons in New York to study fashion design, but someone talked me out of it, right? It said, go to business school. You can always have a fashion brand on the side. You don't really need to go to school to be a fashion designer, right? And that has proven to be true because I see so many young women and also men on social media creating huge fashion brands, and celebrities are wearing their clothes and they didn't go to school for it, right? So I didn't. And do I regret not going? No, I don't. But in order to be an architect, there are things that you have to do in order to be licensed and do the work. So I can't just one day jump up and be an architect. So a little bit after COVID, I said to myself, you know what? I just finished this business degree. I don't have anything else to do with my life but to run my small business. So why not go to school to pursue this new career path? And I got upset because COVID took about 2 to 3 years out of our lives. We were just sitting around not doing anything, but school was actually still open. So when things started to loosen up a little bit, I said to myself, man, I could have been in school and halfway through school and took advantage of the online school because of COVID, but it's never too late, in my opinion. So I decided to enroll in school, in the school that I did my business degree in, and I do not regret it. So that's why I decided to do it. Okay, so what has my experience been so far as a student? It has been wonderful, honestly. I've had some hiccups, bumps in the road. Again, I am a small business owner, so that's not really easy. Trying to make the kind of money to take care of yourself and also to put it back into your business. You have all these bills, you have taxes. It's very intimidating, if you will. And, that's pretty much been the difficult part. But when I go to school, I'm very happy and very, very excited to be creative. And you do have some setbacks for personal reasons. I've had a lot of issues over the years since I've studied in this degree. But overall, it's just been so fun. I love learning. I love researching. And I also consider myself a historian. I love history. So architecture sort of connects me with those parts in time periods of history that I otherwise would only just understand from a different part, right? So now I'm studying history from an architectural standpoint, and not just from where I used to study, because I used to just study history about war, war history and political matters. But now I'm connecting those things that I already know to the buildings that existed during those times that I enjoy the most, right? So, yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I'm just, here for the ride, here for the moment, and want to get as much out of this experience as I can. Again, I am getting older. I'm not getting any younger. Time is flying by. So this is the time, now is the time to take advantage of that and soak it all in. And one question I did not tell you all that I was going to answer was, what is my goal with this? Why do I want to pursue this? And that's a good question. So I don't necessarily want to spend my whole life as an architect and only work in architecture, right? I want to be able to say that I'm an architect, right? If that's selfish, I don't know. But not necessarily work in a firm for the rest of my life. I want to be able to be free and have my own clientele. And if people have questions, sort of like a private lawyer with their own private firm. They work from home. They may have a few clients coming here and there. I'm okay with that. I like my freedom. So I'm really honestly just going to school to get the experience, to say that I did it. And also you have to go to school to be licensed, right? And that'll lead me to my next part of this video, which is the do's and the don'ts. Now, I don't want to spend too much time, but you can't just say I'm an architect, right? So I had to go to school. If I can just skip all of this, I would, but I have to go to school, right? I have to put in the time, travel back and forth, go crazy, enjoy it sometimes, hate it sometimes. I have to go through that, right? So all in all, it's just been a lovely experience. It's even lovely when it hurts. Anything you are passionate about, you're going to simply just love, even when it's painful, right? Let me get back on topic though. So I don't want to be a full-time architect. I believe I have to start out sort of like a full-time, get my, internship, do some work, a little work here and there, put some time in, but then just have that experience. And just to say that I've had that experience, it's all that I honestly want, because there's other things I would like to pursue in this life, but before my time is up. Okay, and then just being able to say that I am an architect is just one of those goals, those life goals that I have. Call me crazy, whatever. I don't believe it's a waste of time, even though I don't want to be an architect forever, I can be an architect forever, but I don't want that to be my main, my main thing. And so that's where I plan to go with this. I can't say I'm not planning to go very far, because I wouldn't mind being an architect forever, right? I believe you have to keep your license up, so I wouldn't mind doing that, whatever it takes to keep that title, and also to do a little work here and there, have some private clients. I also would like to do work for the church that I attend, just to help out, give any knowledge that I know, be a help, as much as I possibly can. But honestly, just being able to say that I did it and I got licensed and I'm an architect, that is good enough for me. That is good enough for the little girl in me who always wanted to know what it's like and always wanted to be it. Okay, so advice about what you need to know before going into this path, okay? I don't know what it's like to be a licensed architect right now. Sorry. I do not know what it's like to be a licensed architect, so I'm only going to speak from a student standpoint. Going back to what I said when I was answering the questions from the mother, you need to have some type of creativity in you. If you're not the best artist, it doesn't matter. You have to even love it a little bit, the idea of drawing something. If you don't like to draw, this is not for you. Right? If you do not like to conceptualize, if you don't like colors, if you don't like palettes, this is not for you. So don't even think about getting into it, okay? So that's what you want to know before going into it. You also want to know that you have to be very well organized. And there are some terms that you should get yourself familiar to before going into school, so you don't be too far behind, right? You should also have some idea about what an architect is, and not only want the school system to teach you what this is, right? School is only designed to teach you but so much, but in this kind of field and industry, you got to do a lot of that groundwork on your own. And that's not to scare you, but I feel like you should do that with anything you decide to be in life, right? I'll make another video because I don't want to make this video too long. I already believe it's already going very far. So I'll make a second, like a part 2 on that, because I can go on and on about it, right? And right now I'm kind of getting brain fog. Okay, to end this video, I'm going to add a little bit more advice and tips to get you going, right? To steer you in the right place. So something that I really want to leave anybody with, if you have not done your research, is like flying a drone over the downtown Washington, D.C. area. You will be in jail, right? Don't just do things because you think you can just do it. You gotta do your research. I research everything. Before I give my dog something to eat, I make sure he can eat it, right? I don't want to accidentally give my dog something and he drops dead, all because I didn't do my research. Google is free. ChatGPT is free. Do your research. What you don't want to do once you are in school and you think you're an architect, that is a first mistake. You are not an architect. There's a lot of things you are not legally allowed to do, and also call yourself, okay, while you are a student and unlicensed. That is the reason why there is a license process. If you want to be in the medical field, you want to become a doctor, you can't call yourself a doctor. You cannot do that before you have completed the process. You cannot call yourself a lawyer before you have completed the process. Same deal with architecture. You cannot call yourself an architect. You cannot also perform certain architectural works. You will be arrested, you can be fined, and you can lose and miss out on your opportunity to ever call yourself an architect, right, before you even begin. Also, it's similar to becoming a real estate agent. I did study a little bit in real estate and study towards my license. And there's certain things that a real estate agent can be responsible for if something goes wrong, right? So there are things put in place for a reason, and that is to protect the citizens, to protect people. You cannot practice on your own. You cannot take on private clients on your own because you think that you're somebody. It's better just to wait till you complete the process, get licensed, do everything by law to protect yourself and protect other people. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot go and start working on people's homes and submitting documents. The document has to be looked at and signed off by a licensed architect. You as a student cannot do that. And that is something that you should know also even before considering going to school for architecture, so that you don't make that mistake and don't think that, oh, once I'm in school, I'm a student and I have a little bit of knowledge. I know one or two terms and, words, and I know a little bit of history about architecture and one Renaissance architect, and I can just start going and working a little bit or doing under the table. If you get caught, okay, if you get caught and if someone gets hurt, right, because of your designs, you're going to jail. You're going to jail. So I wanted to leave you all with that in this video with that. I hope this video really helped. Again, I do not want it to be too long, so hopefully it does not come out too long once I edit it. But I will make some more videos such as this one to put you on the right path and keep you on the right path, and hopefully continue to encourage you to take this path, because it's not as scary as it seems. It is hard work, just like anything in life, but you can do it, okay? Thank you all for listening, and until we meet again, bye. Oh, wait, also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.